Guys, it's Cypher from CypherPK.com, and today I'm bringing you a new one-hand and shield and 2H Stamina Nightblade build, along with a updated version of the dual wield Stamina Nightblade build, with just a little bit of tweaks. So let's jump right into this. You're going to see a lot of very similar skills. The Stamina Nightblade usually has a lot of very just basic abilities that you're going to find on most builds, but this one has a little bit of different things that we haven't really put in previous builds before. So let's start off with the one hand and shield bar. This is going to be our main offensive bar. We have cloak, fear, ambush, and surprise attack, obviously. We are also using camouflage hunter. Now I know this is a very controversial ability, but this ability does actually help you boost your DPS because it gives you a lot of weapon critical while it's slotted, and also you can proc some extra damage while out of stealth or while during combat if you're running enough dots. And I'll show you how we're going to be procking camo hunter using this build. I've played with this setup for 2 hours today on stream, and I did not do the double camo hunter proc once at all. So it's very possible to play with camo hunter without actually proccing the double effect that people complain about. You just have to not do a lot of attacks from stealth and play with it a little bit more properly, and you will avoid that. I hope ZeniMax fixes this ability because it's a very strong ability, and it's a shame that I've waited this long to use this ability considering its history with bugs and just issues that it's been causing. We're also using Soul Harvest for our ultimate, very cheap ultimate. Heal debuff is very important against healing Templars or just any class in general, and then it does a lot of initial damage and boosts your damage by 20%. We are not running an execute with this build, but you really do not need an execute. The damage is just so high and the pressure is so high, you don't need an execute. Back bar, we have Siphoning Strikes and Caltrops. These are going to work together. Siphoning Strikes gives you stamina and magicka back from your light attacks, your basic attacks, and it also gives you a 10% chance to get 2k magicka and stamina back from non-basic attacks like ability attacks. This can proc from Caltrops, it can proc from surprise attack, ambush, camo hunter, and we're also using Soul Tether as an ultimate, which will give you more chances to proc siphoning attacks. Your resources are going to be very dependent on siphoning attacks. The reason is the regen on this build is kind of low comparing to other Stamina Nightblade builds, and you do run out of stamina very quickly when you're running light attack, surprise attack, bash combos. It's not cheap to just keep spamming that. You will run out of stamina using that, so that's why we need siphoning attacks with Caltrops down to maintain your resources a little better. Obviously, we're still going to use Shuffle, Vigor, and Rally. Those are your kind of necessary skills for the Stamina Nightblade. Now listen, we do not have a speed bonus with this build. You can put Double Take if you want. I personally like to go with Shuffle because I don't like to be snared, and the snare immunity is very useful. Sometimes you will be moving faster because of Shuffle is snare immunity compared to Double Take, because you can cast Double Take, but then you can still be snared so much that you're really moving slower than Shuffle. And also, Double Take costs magicka. I like to save my magicka for my fear and my cloak. The ultimate can be Soul Tether. It can also be Meteor if you want it to be. We are using a sword over here, not a maul, not an axe. A sword is going to give you bigger heals because of the 5% extra damage. That's why we're using a sword. So let's jump into gear sets. We are using 4-piece more cooldown. This is all craftable and purchasable. I'm uploading this set in particular. The reason I like this setup is it's simple. Everyone has access to it. You don't have to do PvE to gain access to this stuff. More cooldown 4-piece. So helmet, shoulder, sword and shield, and 2H. Traits, we have Impen on the more cooldown, we have Impen on the shield. We have weapon damage on the sword but sharpened. The shield has stamina enchant on it, and the sword has unresistible damage. You can also put disease damage if you want to, or maybe you can really put anything you want here, but I like the unresistible damage because it goes directly through people's shields, and sometimes this can lower your opponent's health pool, which will increase your execute attacks if you're spamming execute against a shielded target. We're also running 5 pieces Hunting's Rage. You notice we have triple enchants on 4 of the pieces, and we just have a regular enchant on the boots. You can go with triple or you can go with all stamina. I like the triple enchants because it boosts your overall stats, and I like having a bulkier health pool. Considering I'm an Imperial, I can take full advantage of this. And And we have 3 agility, all weapon damage on the jewelry. You can always switch this out for reduction or regen if you need it. Let's look at the stats real quickly. This is our unbuffed stats. 2.9k weapon damage, 2.2k stamina recovery, 31k max stamina, 22k flat health, 11k maximum magicka. Pretty good. 52.8% weapon critical with a one-handed shield. We're using the Serpent Mundustone. We're not a werewolf or a vampire, and we are using magicka and stamina recovery V15 drinks. This is with drink buffs. Fully buffed, our stats will look a little bit like this. 3633 weapon damage, 2506 stamina recovery, 1370 magicka recovery. It's really good stats. It plays well. I've played with this for the past 2 hours. It's extremely strong. It tears through shields. It tears through players. And it's also very tanky because you can block quite a bit because of your siphoning strikes. And if you want even more resource management, you can throw an Engine Guardian with this setup. And you'll absolutely be a beast as far as resource management is concerned. But you'll still have insane damage. Now, if I was to duel with this build or do one-on-one, I would definitely incorporate Engine Guardian. And that would take it to the next level as far as damage is concerned. Now, before I go into the champion tree, I did say we have an updated version of the dual wield build, right? So the dual wield build, to transition from one-handed shield to dual wield, all you really have to do is throw on an extra axe instead of the shield. And at that point, with the dual wield build, I actually wasn't running this setup. You can run this setup if you choose so. You can still run the exact same abilities, and this, I haven't tried this out, but this will work perfectly fine. But usually with the dual wield setup, what I've been doing is, with a dual wield setup, I prefer to have mobility. And the reason I prefer to have mobility is because dual wield, you're not as tanky, so you're going to be taking a lot more damage. You want to position yourself properly. Rapid maneuvers, you obviously want to morph this to retreating maneuvers, but I don't have it morphed. You want to drop your caltrops, you want to drop your siphoning, and you want to put executioner on this bar. You can choose to not put executioner and just keep siphoning, or put mark target, or put anything else you want here, but this is how I play with it. And on your front bar, you can take off Camel Hunter, and you can put Relentless Focus for more regen and damage. Now, this is just a setup this is actually a setup I've played with and I've had some decent results with. But again, you can go back to the original one-handed shield setup or the one-handed shield ability setup where you're using Camel Hunter and Caltrops with Siphoning Strikes. But you got to remember, because of the fact that you're not using a shield with this setup, you are going to be a lot more squishier, and you're going to be dodging a lot more and trying to get out of sticky situations a lot more. One-handed shield can save you in a lot of situations, especially when you're getting a lot of damage pressed onto you. So let's go back to the one-handed shield before we go look at the champion tree. Champion tree, we're going to start off with the tower. We have 11 points into Magician, 42 into Warlord. We want to reduce some of the magicka cost of our Cloak and Fears. 62 into Mooncalf, 2 into Arcanist. You can put more into Arcanist if you choose to do so, but it's not going to really benefit you considering you don't have a huge stamina recovery pool. 45 points into Tumbling. 30 points into Bless. This is going to give you some really, really nice healing capabilities. You do want to put at least 20 points into here to get really nice Vigor and Rally ticks. We have no points here, but I do plan to take some points out of the Ritual and putting it into Heavy Weapon Expert. Right now we're using maces, right? But if you're going to go with the sword, you might as well go with a sword on your one-handed shield as well and put it into Blade Expert. But you could put at least 10 or 15 points into here and you'll be doing fine with that. Over here we have 30 points into Precise Strikes, 22 into Piercing, 80 into Mighty. 10 into Block Expertise. I don't block that much with this build. And the thing is, reducing the block cost is not as big of a deal because of the resource management that you get from Siphoning Strikes. I don't block that much. I usually just do the bashes. Occasionally I'll block some heavy hitters, but the one-handed shield is mainly there just to boost your DPS with bashing. Light attack, surprise attack, bash is insane damage, and you can take out opponents really quickly with that. 30 points into Resistant, which is going to reduce our critical damage. 85 into Hardy, 35 into Elemental Defender. You don't need any into Thick Skin because you can cloak off dots. 3 into Quick Recovery just for a little bit of extra healing. So that's the champion layout. This is based off of 486 champion points. 487 champion points. I think that's about it, guys. As far as races, I like Imperial with this build. I like Redguard, Wood Elf. Khajiit can also work. Orc can definitely work with this build. And I don't think I'm missing anything else as far as races. If you guys have any questions regarding this build, feel free to comment below. I have more builds on cypherpk.com, and this build will also be posted on cypherpk.com. Feel free to experiment with different armor sets. The reason I like this armor set is because it's simple, it gives you decent stats, and it's craftable. You don't have to do any PvE for it. But there's probably some PvE sets that you can put into this build and maybe even come up with something better or different that suits you. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate that. Make sure you check out cypherpk.com for more builds and info. I'll see you guys soon.